AMC, finger looking good. This Black Friday at Target, save on hundreds of deals. Deals on TVs. Deals on toys. ETE, Mhatep, Sini, Sinet, Uncle Astajet, Uncle Jasaneb, Dua for listening. It's your brother, Saber Saram Ka, and welcome once again to another episode of www.praisethedivine.org. As you can see on the screen right now, we've got an equation. Make sure to visit praisethedivine.org. You'll find several videos I've done. Like I said, I'm going to start to drop some more information on the page. I'm just crazy busy, so I try to do as much as I can. I try to make sure I hit you with at least 3 videos a month. Last week we were sharing on my brother Kofi Pisces show. We did a show concerning the family and my aunt in general. But today I just want to tie in some science. You got to pardon me. I got a migraine today, but nonetheless, the show goes on. Let me stop sharing here. The show goes on, and today we're going to connect the term nature to a famous scientific equation, E equals MC square, and we're just going to qualify it. This is the brief version. I'll be doing a paper on it later so that, people can attribute to it, say what they're going to say to it. Mhatep to the chat. I can't see you yet. Before we get off, I'll definitely be talking to you and answering any questions. So any questions you have, you can put it in the chat, and we'll definitely be getting to it. But without further ado, let me bring up all my goodies here so we can start to get up and get down. The first thing we want to talk about today is, before we even get to the equation itself, E equals MC squared, let's talk about how the universe was created, right? The universe, let me give you a quick diagram as well, just so you can understand how the universe was created. When we talk about the universe and its creation, we'll get right here, brief history of the universe. This is from the astrophysicist lab over at UCLA. You can see here at the upper levels here, this is the end of what they call inflation. But before you get there, you see this infinity sign and you see this 0 sign. Those signs right there, that is what they consider to be the beginning. In ancient Kemet, the term we use is Zep Tepi, the time before time, right? And at this particular time, you can even say Zep Tepi is a little bit after the time before, is a little after this actually, and I'll show you why later. But when we talk about the very beginnings of the universe, it's so hot. It's 1 billion degrees. So there are no molecular structures that can stay composed together. So everything in our universe at that time is pure energy. It's pure energy. So the Big Bang makes a slight mistake, and they even try to go back and correct it. So you'll see some formulas of the Big Bang that say that the Big Bang is matter, and then it thinks energy into being, or brings it with the the state of emergence, etc., etc. But they're correcting that. They know better. They basically, like I've said on another video, scientists don't want to admit that energy came first before the matter. But at temperatures that hot, there is no matter. There is no matter. And before we get matter or any type of form. We have strictly different types of energies. Different types of energies. This is why they make statements like there's particleless matter, which really makes no sense. Just call it energy. The energy from a particle to become, there's a better statement for you scientists, was energy, and it connected with other energies, right? So at the end of the expansion of the universe, as they claim, it starts to cool down. Once it starts to cool down, you start to get photons and different things starting to coagulate together, right? So we're talking 1 billion degrees, 10 to the ninth K, right? Electrons, positrons annihilating each other, making more photons, while protons and neutrons combine to make deuterons, and the deuterons combine to make helium. Once helium is formed, two heliums become neutral, and when they become neutral, they create a hydrogen. When the helium and the hydrogen come together, combustibility occurs, etc., etc., your Big Bang theory. But that's just so you know. So in the beginning, there's energy, right? Without denial. They claim our universe is 13.7 billion years old. Some scientists agree, some don't agree. Some people say there's more than one Big Bang, right? The Big Bang that we see assisted this universe, but there's a Big Bang before that and possibly a Big Bang before that. So that's first and foremost. Second, before we go second, we've discussed, and we should be in concurrence, most of sciences, that energy comes before matter. So when you ask which came first, they say, well, they're one or the other. They're together. They're, aspects of the same. But energy comes first. Matter is second. Once energy cools down from its hotter states and starts to clump together in what we call the noon, what you call the galaxy, or the bigger than the galaxy, what you call the space, right? So, but we call it the noon. So now we go to what is energy before we get to the E equals MC square and putting this together with ancient Kemet, what have you. So energy is a few things. In physics, in quantum physics, let me say this: energy is the quantitative property that must be transferred to an object in order to perform work on or to heat the object. Energy is a conserved quantity. The law of conservation of energy states that energy can be converted in form, but not created or destroyed, which means energy has always been in existence. So you never had a time without energy. Never had a time without energy. Energy was always. Matter is a little different, right? But because energy creates matter, you could kind of make the same equation, but not quite, right? So when you talk energy again, energy is classified in kinetic, moving energy, and potential, stored energy. Kinetic or moving energy, or potential or stored energy. Once again, electrical energy is the movement of electrical charges. Everything is made from atoms, which in turn are made of positive nucleus surroundings from negative electrons. Just so you understand, and you probably may not understand that. You probably got to go take a science class to understand that. But energy is potential, meaning it's stored energy waiting to move, or kinetic energy, which is moving, and potential energy transforming, becoming, going into, right? So let's start to break some things down. What does nTr equal MC squared mean? E equals MC squared, right? What does that equation mean? The equation derived from the 20th century physicist Albert Einstein, in which E, the letter E, represents units of energy. The E represents units of energy. And the M represents units of mass. So the size of the energy or the quantities of the energy. And the C2 is the speed of light squared or multiplied by itself, because light moves at the speed of light, basically. So basically, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. On the most basic level, the equation says that energy and mass, or matter, if you will, are interchangeable, meaning that energy will turn into some type of matter, right? They're just different forms of the same thing. And this is what the Big Bang Theory tries to state. But as we just showed a few moments ago, energy comes before the mass or the matter ever comes into play, right? Under the right conditions, energy can become mass and vice versa. As you know, you wouldn't exist if it didn't happen, because we're just energy. And then we go back to our we're energy that turned into matter, and when we transform, the matter turns back into energy. Simple experiment. You can go get some flash paper. It's matter. When you burn it, it becomes a gaseous energy. It dissolves. It dissolves. The C stands for the speed of light, which is a universal constant, right? So the whole equation breaks down to this. Energy is equal to matter multiplied by the speed of light squared. The reason is that kinetic energy, or the energy of motion, is proportional to mass. So your speed is in proportion with your size. Light speed is in proportion with the size of the protons that create its light, basically. Let's break it down a little more. If that's not, if that's a little too sticky, before we start moving into the nTr-w aspect of this. What does the equation mean? The C stands for the speed of light. We just covered that. A universal constant. So the whole equation breaks down as we just said. The reason is that energy, be it light, waves, or radiation, travels at the speed of light. Energy is equal to matter multiplied by the speed of light squared. So whatever the matter is, just like I explained, whatever the size of the matter is that clumped together, if it's you, we will multiply that by the speed of light squared to get your size, mass, etc., etc. That's what the equation means. So energy equals mass times the speed of light, right? Squared, basically. What does relativity mean? And this is what it all kind of breaks down into. Relativity is, and I'll just give you a dictionary definition. Let me pull it up. So relativity is the absence of standards of absolute and universal application. Moral relativity. In physics, it's the dependence of various physical phenomena or relative motion of the observer and the observed objects, especially regarding the nature and behavior of light, space, time, and gravity. Those four things right there, right? Sounds like something in ancient Kemet we call the Pesejetu Kamenu, or what you call the Ogdo. And it is just that. Well, come on, brother Kofi, come on in. You know what it is. I told you, I just sent out a big thing. We was going live, my brother Kofi. But that's the basis of what's going on. So you're dealing with those things. And Einstein's theory, we'll hop into that, is real briefly. It's the theory of relativity usually encompasses two interrelated theories by Albert Einstein: special relativity and general relativity. Special relativity applies to elementary particles and their interactions, describing all their physical phenomena except for gravity. But let's get back to the subject. We're not going to go deep into Einstein, right? Elementary particles, very small particles. Let's look at the nTr-w. And let's see if they fit this. Let's see if the ancestors were talking the same science. Now, remember, the ancestors speak in mythos, but they also deal with the science. They deal with what we call Heka. Give me just a moment before we get to the nTr-w. I'm about to invite my brothers in. If they want to hop in, I'm going to give them the link right now. I see you, brother Annie. Give me just a moment. I'm going to give them the link so they can hop in. In case y'all want to hop in with your boy. I'm going to give them the link. Give me just a moment. Let me see. I can never remember how this thing works in full. Let me turn the volume up a little bit so y'all can hear me better as well. But let me go to the Hangout toolbox. Let me see if it'll bring it up for me. My brother Kofi, Emi Harrod, Satepara, Vasa, T'Challa. Let me see if I can bring them in here. Give me just a moment. I forget how to bring y'all in here, man. I'm sorry. Otherwise, I'll just bring y'all in here. Let me, oh, I gotta add you, huh? So let me add my brothers real quick, huh? Here we go. Close this. Give me just a moment and we'll continue. I love to let my brothers get in the mix, so we're gonna hop right in there asking for the link. We gotta give them the link. Give them the link real fast. And then we'll hop right back into it. But reflect on what we just discussed right there. Like I said, the energy starts the universe. The energy creates the matter in the universe once it cools off. And once it cools off, then you start to get forms, right? Which is important. Like I said, without that, we don't exist. We won't come into being. But let's go further, right? So this is chapter 90 of hold on, let me pull up the I want to give you the direct primary resource so you know exactly where to find this. It's chapter 90. I'm going to read it, and it's concerning the Heliopolis Pasejet, or what you would call the Ennead, right? And I want you to be able to have it just so that you can find these things, so you know these things. This is a hymn to Amun. And let me see if I can get the exact primary resource for you before I start to read it here. Let me pull it up. And this way you have it so you can always go check it. So the information is just not, you know, secluded. I want to say it's the Laden Papyrus, but I could be wrong. So, I know it's part of the Theban Mysteries, and it is this is the Laden Papyrus, portion 1, 350, and this is chapter 90. Going to chapter 90 first. We'll work backwards in a moment, right? So the Laden Papyrus says this concerning the body of nTr, right? Mentioning several nTr-w, several aspects. And it talks first about the Ennead, or the MC2, or the people in Heliopolis, right? The nTr-w of Heliopolis. And it says this, it says, the Ennead combined is your body. This is talking about Amun-Ra right now. It's talking about Amun. So it says the Ennead combined is your body. Every nTr joined in your body is your image. So it's already it's telling you the same way the universe started. You are the all-encompassing. You're a glob of energy. Everything that comes about is already inside of you, and it's of your image. It's a reflection of you. Like we're a reflection of what? The galaxy. Bigger than the galaxy. We're a reflection of the space above. That's what we come from. That's where we come from. It says you emerged first. You inaugurated from the start. Amun, whose name is hidden from the nTr-w. Oldest elder, more distinguished than these Tatanen, who formed himself by himself as Ptah. The toes of his body are the 8. We're going to talk about the 8 a little later on, not in depth, but just briefly so you can understand some concepts. It says, he appeared as Ra from the noon. He appeared as the energy above the darkness, the dark energy and the dark matter. He sneezed as Atum from his mouth and gave birth to Shu and Tefnu, wind and moisture. Shu, wind, Tefnu, moisture. Combined in manifestations, he appears on his throne as his heart prompts, who through his power rules for himself all that is, who binds together for himself all that is, who binds together for himself the kingship forever. Forever. So we're talking about eternity, infinity, down to eternity, established as sole Lord. Now, we got to go to what we mentioned before. We talked about light earlier in the creation. It says this, it says, light was his coming into existence on the first occasion, with all that exists in stillness for all of him. So we talked about kinetic energy and we talked about potential energy, right? We talked about that. We talked about the light coming into existence. It says he cackled by voice as the great cackler, coming into a land that he created for himself while he was alone. He began speaking in the midst of silence, opening every eye and causing them to look. He began crying out while the world was in stillness. His potential energy turning into kinetic energy. His yell circulated while he had no second, so that he might give birth to what is and cause them to live, and cause every man to know the way to walk. Their hearts live when they see him. His are the effective forms of the MC2, also known as the Ennead. All right. So you can see from that stanza describing creation. He covered we went through the portions of coming into existence. No different than science, just put in a mythos form. We covered all of them. Didn't miss much. And we got a visitor in here. Who we visiting? Who's visiting with us today?
What's up? What's happening? Satep.
MC2 brother Satep and Ra. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my brother Satep and Ra Mary Amen. Brother Satep and Ra Mary Amen. Introduce yourself to the people.
Peace to the chat. Peace to the family. It's your brother Satep and Ra Mary Amen. Member of the Seshu Ma nTr-w group. You know, we discuss ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic texts and the culture. So yeah, that's me.
I saw brother Satep Mariaman, Satep and Ra Mariaman. So, brother Satep, right now I'm just covering the creation. The first thing I did, I was covering how energy comes first. And the Big Bang Theory is starting to change its theory and say that energy comes first. Most scientists don't like to admit that, as I talked about before, because you have, they make a statement called particleless matter, which is really just energy. So they're starting to change that statement around. And then we covered the different status of energy. We covered the different sciences concerning building up to the Ogdo, building up to the Pasejet-2 Kamenu, and then we just covered the one concerning the Enya. We're going to go even further and explain even more science as we go. Here we go. Let's go to chapter 80. Still late in Papyrus 350. It says this. It says, the 8 were your first manifestation. When they say the 8 were your first manifestation, they're talking about the Pasejet-2 Kamenu. The Pasejet-2 Kamenu are what we call what you call the Agdad, the Greek terminology that you generally use. The Pasejet-2 Kamenu consists of a few aspects of nature, a few nTr-w, if you will, right? 8 in particular. There's Nun and Naunet. There's Ker and Kerhet. There's Hehu and Hehuet. And then there's what's the last two, brother Satep and Ra? The last two in the Agdad.
You said the one I was gonna say.
I got a migraine today. But the last two. In fact, you can go to my previous video concerning the cosmogony and cosmology of Kemet. Say it again, brother Satep.
Oh no, I ain't saying nothing else. I need me my mic.
Oh, you good. So those 8, right? And each are in forms of pairs. They're each married to each other, right? In other words, the principles are married to each other in order to make our universe coagulate together. And so when we talk about Nun and we talk about Nun and Naunet, we're talking about the watery mass, the space. We talked about that, right? So the watery mass that surrounds you, which is the oldest of the nTr-w. It's the oldest of the nTr-w, right? And when you talk about Nun and Naunet, that was what was at its hottest point. That was what was at its hottest point. It's black. It's still black. It was at its hottest point. And when we talk about that, we realize a couple, Iku and Kekuet. So let me say them again, right? There's Nun and Naunet, Amun and Amunet, Ku and Kekuet, and Hu and Hahuet, or Haunet, as some people would say, right? And Nun and Naunet are the primeval watery mass above, the darkness, if you will, right? And when it comes to Noon, he's energy coming into existence. When it comes to Na'unet, she's birthing that energy into existence. These are how those two forms work. When it comes to Amun, he's like the hidden energy that you don't see. He's what you don't see. That's why they call him the hidden one. So he's the potential energy, and Noon would be like the kinetic energy, because when it gets to the Noon, things start to have a form. When you look in space, you can see different forms in the space, and you know what they formulate from. You know that suns formulate from nebulas. You know, different bacterias and different space dust. When a sun explodes, different galaxies and different things of that nature are formed within inside of the Noon, birthed by Na'unet, right? Amun, that hidden energy, animates these objects, and the birthing of that animating energy comes from Amunet. She's the personification of life, bringing the northern wind. Different things of that nature, right? When it comes to Keku and Kekuet, we're talking about the difference between the light and the night. So Keku is the bringer of the light. He's the emergence. When you start to get the differential between dark and light, your first light, go look that up on Google. When light starts to come into being, and which comes first? Darkness is first, then light emerges from it. When you talk about Kekuet, you're talking about the darkness already. She births the light into existence. When you talk about Who, you're talking about infinite time. And Hehuet, infinite time, his counterpart, right? So we call this the Agdod. And if you've never seen the Agdod before, let me pull up a picture real fast so you can see the picture. The Agdod are represented by snake-headed men and frog-headed women. And in the primeval abyss, them swimming around and mating and what have you is what creates these forms within the Noon. And that's how it's explained in the text. But let me show you a brief picture, because I told you I was going to be brief. I'm not going to be all day today, but let me show you a brief picture of the Agdad, or the Pesejet-2 Kamenu. Start calling them Pesejet-2 Kamenu, right? When you talk about Asar and Aset and Hehu and Hehuet, start calling them the Pesejet-2 Enu. Start to refer to them by their proper names. As my brother Shetep and Rob will tell you, that's what we do in the sesh. Tell them a little bit about the sesh Ma'ani Medu Netra.
Well, basically, we got a YouTube channel, we got a Facebook group, and we go in on the text. You know, we read primary resources off the walls, the papyri. Got some brothers in the group that can read the hieratic. You know, it's Emmy Cat, she read the hieratic too. And then you got the brothers that read just the regular glyphs on the wall, you know. And the hieratic, that's just the that would be like as if we was writing cursive today. You know, it's a faster stroke of the pen. So and if you're writing on papyrus, well, using papyrus, you can't carve into papyrus, so it's a lot easier to basically do a cursive form of writing when you're using a hieratic. But yeah, we're a group of like-minded individuals that study ancient Egyptian culture and abroad. You know, we don't only study Egyptian culture, but that's the focal point of our group per se. But a lot of the other members in the group specialize in other things as well, West African cultures and so forth. So yeah, that's our group. Y'all can find us on YouTube, nTr-w, or Facebook, nTr-w. Okay, what we got here?
That's right. And so here we have a quick look, not even all of them in here, but you have a quick look at the MC2 Khenty-hen-nefer. And you can see the women with the snake-like heads. I think I said it backwards. The women have the snake-like heads and the men have the frog-like heads. And this is them. These are aspects of creation. So no snakehead or frog-like head men walked around in reality. These are just aspects and animals that they use to correlate creation coming into being for you. These are those different energies. These are those different aspects of the creation that they use to explain to you, from timelessness, from space, right? All those things that relativity has in its equation. Those four things in particular, right? Space, time, gravity. Here's the representation of that in ancient Kemet. This is what the Agdad represents, or what the MC2 Khenty-hen-nefer represents. And this is just so you know, so you can start to explain it to your children, to your friends and family, without, so you can start using the nTr-w to explain your science, because that's all that it is to them. Let me tell you the difference between us and them. The Aku seeing the universe as different beings and different aspects of a whole. You see the world as different things, objects that aren't related to you and have no effect on your personal being. So if you keep treating the world like you treat it, you'll keep getting hurricanes, earthquakes, and different things that will eventually get rid of you. They didn't see themselves separate from the creation. They make distinctions of beings who we are inside of the all, inside of the noon. And that's the difference. And so right there, you're looking at a few of the beings that make up those aspects, right? Let's go and finish it out. We've read the chapters. It says this. It says, you made your manifestations in Tatanen to accompany the primeval ones in your first primeval time. We just covered the MC2 Khenty-hen-nefer. It says, your beauty arose as the bull of his mother. You withdrew as the one in the sky, enduring as Ra. You returned in fathers, makers of their sons, to make an excellent heritage for your children. Like I said, they see themselves as part of the whole. And they're talking about the nTr-w in this particular quote. It says, you began manifestation with nothing, without the world being empty of you on the first occasion. So when you define the term nothing, it's not actually nothing. We believe that nothing would equate to being Amun here, would equate to being energy still around, because energy can't be created, energy can't be destroyed. We read that in the beginning. And it says the same thing here. It says all nTr-w came into existence after you. So this is just one stanza concerning Amun. Here's another one. We'll just throw it up. This is combining two of the aspects of nTr-w. It says, self-made, you fashioned your body, creator, uncreated, energy. Soul one, unique one, who traverses eternity, timelessness. Remote one with millions under his care. Your splendor is like heaven's splendor, your color brighter than its hues. When you cross the sky, all faces see you. Now it's giving you an example of the sun coming across the sky. When you set, you are hidden from their sight. Daily you give yourself at dawn. Safe is your selling under your majesty. In a brief day, you race a course. Telling you it's timeless. It's traveling at the speed of light. Hundreds, thousands, millions of miles. Proof that is traveling at the speed of light. A moment is each day to you. It is more proof is traveling at the speed of light. It has passed when you go down. You also completed the hours of the night. You ordered it without pause in your labor. Though you do all eyes, or through you do all eyes see. They lack aim when your majesty sets. When you stir to raise at dawn, your brightness opens the eyes of the herds. When you set in the western mountain, they sleep as if in a state of death. And this is from Suti and Hor, hymn to Ra. And you can see this on the stela at the British Museum. It's number 826. And I'm giving you Merriam-Lichtime's translation. And then we'll go to one more. The hymn to Amun during the reign of Nisut Biti Harumheb. He says, you find him who transgress against you. Woe to him who assails you. The city endures, but he assails you fails. So whoever disrespects you fails. Fie upon him who transgresses against you in every land. The son of him who knows you, not goes down, O Amun. So it's talking about Amun again. But as for him who knows you, he shines. The forecourt of him who assails you is in darkness, but the whole earth is in light. Whosoever puts you in his heart, O Amun, lo, his sun dawns. So it's telling you that Amun is within you, basically. But that's pretty much the gist, without getting into the Ptah-Hetep scripts, which you can find on the Shabaka stone. For those of you who have never seen some of the information I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a good place to get a translation. You can go to sophiatopia.org. You can look up the Memphis Cosmogony, I believe it is, on this page. And then look up the Shabaka stone. Or you can go to reshafim.org, and it has a translation as well. This way you start to understand and correlate the sciences with what the science was in ancient Kemet. So you can understand the Heka, and you can put the Heka with the science, and they'll correlate for you. And then you'll get the proper understanding from your ancestors. And that's pretty much the gist, because I got a migraine that's out of this world. Brother Satep and Rod, you want to say anything to the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. I wasn't in it long. I wish you'd have dropped the chat a little earlier, but yeah, man. You know what though? Kofi would have been perfect for this. This right up Kofi's alley. The Ogdog and the cosmology stories. That's right up Kofi's lane. I really can't speak too much on it because I ain't that adept in it as Kofi is. So I would say do like a part 2 or something and invite Kofi on here because that's definitely his lane right there. But yeah, man, it was good so far from what I've seen.
So Kofi, you heard that. Satep put you on the spot, B. And we just did something on Kofi's. He got to come over here and do something for us, huh?
Right. he got to get on the Heka channel.
Absolutely. So come through, Kofi, brother. Any Herod, I dropped it in the chat for them. But that would be the correlation of nTr equals MC square. We covered it from several goodness, man. Covered it from several primary resources today. About 5 in particular. We went over each correlating, division from the energy, from how the universe began, from some of the Big Bang Theory, just pieces of it. And then we correlated that to how the nTr-w believe existence came into being, just using a few of the primary resources in ancient Kemet. So rewind that, get your pen and pencil, write these things down. Like I said, we don't do guesswork. We're just going to go right from the sources. So what I say, the scientists will confirm, right? We don't do guesswork. And if we don't know, we read the Medu directly. And if we can't read it, we'll take it to one of the elders who can read it, right? And we work on that hieratic, we work on that demotic, and we work on your basic hieroglyphic. We work on all of that, man. So ETEM remember who you are and be in the SAR, Ankwas the Jed, Anku Jaseneb, Dua for listening, and we'll see you soon.